My name is Lori. Welcome to my channel. We are quilters. Today is Blabfest Friday number 12. By the time you see this video, I was back from my trip to visit grandbaby for her first birthday. That was a good time. But in the meantime, since she goes to daycare, now I've got a little bit of a sniffle. I am recovering, and I haven't gotten a lot of work done because I am recovering. So I'm going to show you some older projects like my sweatshirt art. We did this one year at quilt camp. You cut under the sleeves and up the sides and flatten your sweatshirt out, and you cut it down the front to make two pieces. And then I used all kinds of scraps and covered this so it looked like it had braid up the sleeves. And then I laid it on the quilt machine just like any other quilt. And I micro quilted it. I used feathers and I did micro stipple, and I thought this was going to be a great thing to wear. Well, I should have left more space in the sides. I didn't realize how much the quilting would gather up the fabric. So it is an art quilt because unless I want to walk around with my arms sticking straight out, it's just an art quilt. And I've moved this to my desk chair, and I keep a handmade crochet doily from my grandmother. You've seen pictures of her in the past. She also gave me the sewing machine. She did lovely crochet work and tatting. Oh, I wish I had asked her to teach me how to tat, because that would be fantastic. I have some very nice pieces that she gave me over the years of tatted work too. So my second thing to show you is an origami quilt. Years ago, when Alex Anderson was on HGTV, she had a guest that showed how to make this little origami flower block. Wow, I thought that was just it. And I even bought her book. I don't know where it is at the moment, but I bought the book later on, and I made this entire quilt with all these little origami flowers. They remind me of cherry blossoms. And here, being near DC, cherry blossoms are a really big thing in the spring. And they're beautiful here in West Virginia too, because we have many, many orchards with cherries and apples. This reminded me of cherry blossoms. So I made this cherry blossom quilt, and I set these blocks around and made this block, and then I put a vine, and on the vine I did some fancy stitching, and I also set in leaves that are stitch across the corner type leaves. They're not on top, they're part of the actual quilt blocks. So this needs finished. It does not have square corners, and I need to make a decision about the square corners, whether or not. Look, I have a helper. Nuggie's here to visit. I need to decide whether I'm going to let the corners the way they are, or I'm going to square them up so it's easier to get them on the big quilt machine. I haven't decided yet, because there's some biasy things going on that as a quilter years ago, I didn't pay attention to those rules, and so now it's got some issues that I need to deal with if I'm ever going to finish it. So the third thing, as you know, I was traveling, so I always take a kit with me when we travel, and the one that I took this time was just handwork, because my son doesn't have a lot of light in his living room. He's got a big, fantastic living room, but he's got young eyes, so he doesn't understand how some of us old people need so much light when we do work or read or things like that. So I took some handwork along, because I can see when I sit at their dining room table. So I took along a kit for embroidery that's almost finished. It just needs some lettering on it. I also took this little cross stitch kit that says use not fat, use fluffy. It hasn't been opened. You'll see the original price from whatever store it was at was 39 cents. And then I bought it at a yard sale or a thrift store for a quarter. And it's still not opened, but I will make that up soon enough because the cross stitch itself is only like this big. So eventually that'll get made up. But I took that with me. It was in this lovely briefcase that somebody gave me as a gift when I started teaching 34 years ago now, because I taught for 32 years. And I don't think I ever used this briefcase very much because I just preferred a plain old whatever bag I could grab, throw in a couple markers, and go. Nuggy wants to say hello again. Isn't he cute? Isn't he cute? He just can't help himself. He has to camera bomb. So, anyway, I now have I found this bag as I was cleaning some bags out of my sewing space, and I think this will be my permanent sewing travel bag because it zips shut and I don't have to worry about losing pieces. I love to keep things in these plastic boxes inside. Here isn't my Hexie box, or one of the Hexie stack boxes. I put in enough pieces to keep me busy. And here is my little thread and needle box with my fancy little scissors and a seam ripper, because you can't go anyplace without a seam ripper. Always need to have one of those along just in case. And if you haven't had to pick out Hexie stitches when you're doing the whip stitch over, those are very small, very hard to pick out with just a pair of scissors without accidentally cutting into anything. So I always like to have a seam ripper along. Now, my daughter-in-law does have a sewing machine or two that we took there, and she does have she got a seam ripper for Christmas, one of the clover ones, because it is the Cadillac of seam rippers. I have 26 weather blocks done for the month of January, and I cut the other 5 out. So it is all ready for me to piece together, finish piecing those 5 blocks and piece the month of January together. And in my mind, I have the setting figured out. It's going to be a double-sided quilt because it is going to be rather large when I am done. It will have the first 6 months of the year on one side and the last 6 months of the year on the other side. That is how I'm going to deal with it. So I need to get those last 5 blocks done today after I talk to you. I still have the Valentine quilt on the big machine. Haven't done anything to it. It's ready to go whenever I feel so moved. I have the murder mystery quilt that I've been working on. I have January done, and I printed out February. I haven't read the chapter. I haven't started the blocks. I need to do that before I film the next Blabfest. And I have been working slowly on the car quilt. I have 2 more of those blocks done. I only need 5 more to finish that top. Hopefully I'll have that done before I see you at the next Blabfest. Well, it is time for me to get to work and get some stuff done. And then I will have, fingers crossed, I will have lots of things to share with you during our next Blabfest. See you then.